Hello and welcome back to another episode of Grow Support. My name is Neil and we talk about growing your career in customer support, scaling it, building the function and building teams. I had the wonderful pleasure to sit down with Caminiti, the Vice President of Customer Success at DNSimple, to talk about her journey, what great support means, and just the crazy experience that it's been. It was a great conversation and I hope you enjoy.
Hello?
Hello. Yes, hello.
It's so good to meet you.
You too. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. I don't think I've been like this excited for like a meet for a while. I was like, hey, whoa.
Me too. I'm glad that the energy is the same because me coming in so hot could have been a really fast crash and burn.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Did you have a good week?
I did. It's been a wild couple of weeks. It's been fun. But yeah, glad it's Friday and glad to be talking to you.
I'm also curious where you came from, how you got into support.
I mean,
What led you there?
It's been in my blood for my entire career. I started at 15 working for a general store, and a lot of that was to pay back the late movie fee debt that I acquired over the years. But you know, that's fine. But then I moved into retail, worked at J.C. Penney's, worked at this place called Maurice's, worked at Victoria's Secret for a number of years, and I ran the fitting room, and I was they call it the bra specialist. And that was where I really understood that I tackled support differently. And I was really good at it because that's such an intimate space. And I was able to just make really great connections with these people in very short periods of time. But I still didn't think that you could make a career, like a thriving, financially stable, excessive career out of support. And so I kept leaving. And I went and I worked for employee benefits for a little while, which is a great thing to learn about, and was a travel agent for a little while, which is kind of like a support adjacent. I was an executive assistant for a while. And all of these roles, I realized I'm doing the exact same thing. I love helping people be successful. It doesn't mean it's support. It doesn't mean I'm helping my boss get ready for something or I'm organizing events or charity things. It's the end result's the same. I want to find the most efficient way to do the job, and I want to make the people that I'm working with be confident and proud and happy and successful. And that's how I landed in SaaS. Once I got into the SaaS world, it was like, wait a second, support's not the very, very lowest bit. It's not in some cases, unfortunately, it still is, but for SaaS kind of opened up my eyes to how people were looking at support differently. It was a differentiator. It was a data source, and I got to build things. I got to experiment and figure out if all of these things that I had been feeling for a long time of better ways to do it actually were better ways. And a lot of times they were, but I finally had a chance to try, and other times they weren't. And that's okay because I learned a ton from them. And then I landed at DNSimple, and on paper, not qualified at all to take on this role.
That's how I feel every time.
Yes, I know, but it's like at your core, I know I can do this. I know I can just crush this, but I meet very few of these requirements. You've just got to figure out how to convince someone that you are the right fit. And I did, thankfully, with DNSimple. My boss, Anthony Eden, he posted on Support Driven. I've been in Support Driven for years and just kind of more of a lurker, but he posted on Support Driven, I've got this job description. We've never had anyone work in support. I had known nothing about support. We need this person to build support. So can someone just take a look at this this description and tell me what I need to change or if I missed anything? And I happened to be poking around. I saw it right when he posted it. I read it, and it's like building everything from the ground up. And it's like, this is what I have been looking for so long. I know nothing about DNS. I know nothing about domain names, but I know support and I know how to make a successful support team. So I sent him a message. I don't think I sent him my resume until I was in the final chat with him. We just kept having calls and kind of brainstorming of what we wanted this to be. And we're an all hands support team, which means I had to train all of the developers to be support professionals. And they had been doing their best, winging it for years. And they were so stressed and so burnt out. And they're from all different countries. So English wasn't their first language too. And they're just finding small little nuggets of time to hop into support and help these folks. And the passion was there. The love for the customer was there, but no training was there, and there was no structure and there was no process. And so I came in and made a lot of change and did a lot of training, still do a lot of training. And they realized, I think the takeaway for most has been my onboarding is the most intense onboarding for anything they have ever done in their entire life. And they never knew that support was as intense as it was. And that's what it takes a lot of the time. You need someone to see it, like feel it, of what it actually takes to do this job well. And then it clicks. And 5 years later, we're still here.
I love it. I've seen so many people, like if I'm doing some shadowing or they're coming, like they need help with something, they come to me and I'm like, yeah, sure, I can definitely help you with that. And then they watch me do it. And then they're like, I had no idea that you had to do this to do that. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it takes a lot more than you think it is. Like, it's pretty intensive.
You have to be on the ball all the time. And one of the things that it surprised me that I learned when I was training and focusing on my onboarding, the power of the structure of the email and how you deliver the message is one of like the biggest things that I focus on now in my onboarding, because I'm not going to teach these developers how to explain technical things. They're fine with that. But I'm going to teach them how to convey information in a way that's digestible and accessible, and how to read the room for each person that they're talking to and how to navigate that. What are the different things that stand out, and not just dump everything on them, which you want to do sometimes, but that can be so overwhelming and just backfires 9 times out of 10. So we'll do samples. I do scenarios on a Google Doc back and forth. My onboarding is a 6-week ramp up before someone's solo, and not really solo. They're still sending stuff to me, along the way. But creating that foundation is the biggest thing. Just feel confident in how you do this. I'm loving this piece that you did, but I'm going to write my version, and then let's hop on a call and tell me what stands out about the difference between the two, because you didn't do anything wrong. The information is there. You conveyed it well, but take a look at these subtle changes that I made here, and let's just tell me what you feel after it. And that has created some really cool conversations to collaborate and figure out the best way to approach it, because every person you interact with in your company represents a customer in some way, shape, or form, because everybody's different. Everyone's going to approach things differently. So being someone that's teaching but also learning at the same time has been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. I always want people to bring their own personal style into it and really bring it in. I think generally support people, even in the building aspect, when they're actually building the function and like scaling support, they're also bringing their own personality into it. You see that when people build the actual function itself, it kind of builds off the personality of that first customer hire.
Yes,
Like,
it really does, setting the tone.
Yeah, really. When I started, it was I went from retail. I moved to the Netherlands with no prospects of anything. I was like, okay,
Hey,
I'm gonna quit my job, let everything go. I moved to the Netherlands, and then I was hunting for a job, and luckily I found a company that I'm at right now. And one of the reasons why I loved it was because when I was in wireless and retail back in the day, I was always on the phone with support reps because I was in there with the customer trying to help them solve an issue. But then I would need to get a support person on the phone from one of the telecom retailers or something like this. And when I had to go through that process, I was like, I feel like this could be so much better. Like, I'm on the phone, it could be better, whatever. And when I made it to the Netherlands and I got my current role as a customer, it was a customer success specialist at that time,
mhm,
just everything customer, because we were only
yep,
8 people as a company. So it
yep,
was just like everything customer.
yep, yep,
And I was
feel
like, I
that.
finally get a chance to build it and make that experience and try and figure out and tinker and
Yes.
experiment and build. What I realize now, going through all of my coaching onboarding with my team is like, a lot of it comes down to language. Like, you'd be really surprised at how much language goes into it. Like, of course, technical knowledge, process, deep product knowledge, systems, all of this is very important. But like the actual relay of language is so important to, hey, like just change this one sentence and it'll make it sound way more reinforcing or way more positive. Like, take the blame off of this part of the sentence
Right.
because putting that way makes it sound like you're blaming them for the problem. Just switch the perspective a little bit. It's so nuanced, but it's so interesting.
Oh, I love hearing that because I mean, I knew this coming into this call, but you are a kindred spirit fully. And it's, it is so true. That is the exact perfect way to describe it. It is that nuance of read this sentence this way and put yourself in their shoes. And sometimes it's you read it and it's like, okay, well, this would make me want to ask this question. Or now I feel like this person doesn't really want to help me. They're just trying to move on to the next thing. And the second you let that happen in a customer's mind where they don't feel like you care enough to help them, it all just goes
Oh,
downhill so
I
fast.
think some of the worst like response they're not the worst responses, but to me they feel like the worst responses that I see in like interactions when a customer says, didn't even read my question
Yes.
or something like this because the rep just used like a save reply or they're just moving quickly. When I see that, like, I feel like they didn't read my question or didn't consider it or something in a CSAT score, I'm like, but this is why we don't use canned responses. Like, they're nice as snippets to
Yep.
like include in there for a part of it, but not the whole entire thing. Like, I totally get efficiency key, but that personalization, that human aspect to read the room and read the person is
Right.
so important.
Yes, that we have the same policy. I hate canned replies with a passion for that very reason. If we are noticing that we're getting a trend of customers where we have to send the same 4 articles to them every time, and it's a pain in the butt to have to go and copy the links to everything every time. Yes, take the canned reply for that, as long as you know that they check all of the boxes in order for this to be relevant. And you better be writing a lot of other stuff in there so that this is just one little piece to the puzzle. Uh, but on the flip side, with the canned replies, I've been thinking about this a lot. And it's the canned replies show me that the customer support team is probably so burnt out and stressed, and the importance of completing a certain number of emails is the only thing that matters, and it doesn't matter how you do it. Just get that message out there, whatever it is, and move on to the next thing, and we'll deal with it later. And the reality of what that is, like, for to think about the support person and how crappy their days must be. Like, these people know, like we did when we were working our various support roles, this could be better. This could be so much better, but you don't have that voice. You don't have the power because of the structure of things. Because when folks are feeling that way in that kind of a support environment, there's a lot of other stuff going on that's making that space what it is. And then it's just such a missed opportunity, because those customers are either going to come back and ask a million other questions. They're going to follow the directions and they're going to break something, which is going to turn into time from many different departments now, or they're going to leave. The only times I've really left products, especially like subscription things that aren't because I forgot that I've been paying for them for 7 years, is because I have one crummy interaction with someone that leaves a bad feeling in me. And it's like, well, should I start looking around to see if there's a better alternative? And why would you want your customer to ever feel that when they need help the most? It's yeah, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts because it's such an easy fix.
Absolutely. Me and my wife, we were recently shopping for double strollers, like double-sized strollers, which seemingly is actually a really hard product to buy and find the right one for.
Yeah, I stopped looking. It was too much.
So we actually ended up getting one, and it came with they didn't have on their site that it actually was, even though the names were same, they didn't actually match the parts. So they wouldn't actually connect up together. It was really weird. So we ended up contacting them, got a really, like, I wouldn't say bad experience, but like a not ideal customer support experience. And like it just went south, and we're like, okay, well, now we're just going to spend way more money with a different brand because they seem to have really good support and they're there to help versus this. So it really does make a difference, that interaction that you have and that interaction that you bring to the table. Like making sure that experience goes well is important. What you mentioned, I think, about support people getting forced into using canned responses because they're so burnt out and they feel like they need to be pressured to get a certain number of conversations done every single day and drive, I think could take us into a whole nother conversation about how reps are not metrics and not to just drill metrics into people for performance, that like you need to take that into account, that they're indicators, not drivers in a sense. And that people shouldn't just be looked at as numbers. There's context around it. There's like, if you want to have great support, you need to have great people, and those great people need great support in order to be able to be successful.
Should be a bumper sticker. That yes. Yes, it can, because they need to be able to breathe. That is one of the biggest things that I push for every person that I train, is just to pause. Like, you don't need to dive into this. This isn't so time sensitive, and we deal with a lot of time sensitive stuff, but I would much rather you handle that time sensitive thing with the care that it requires than like panic, send something out because you think that this is the best choice. And you learn so much through due diligence and taking that time and showing the customer that you care so much about them and their success, that you are spending your time on them, and that's it. And then you send out the reply, and then they walk away and they're like, you know what? I got this. I got this. Or wait a second, I think I got this, but I want you to just double check, and that's it. And then you double check and you're happy to help them, and you don't make them feel crappy for it. And you create a safe space, because you got to create that safe space for your team to ask for help, so that they're not making guesses along the way because they're afraid that they're going to get reprimanded for not knowing every single thing in the universe. And then you've got to make your customer feel safe, because they're not expected to know every single thing that's related to this product either. And that's how you win.
When it comes to language that we talked about before and reading the room of people, I think what you mentioned about your customers don't know your product, you're not expected to know your product, you're like, all of this really rings a big alarm bell for me, because one of the things that I always tell all of my reps, every single customer is different. It might while you interact with our product and systems every single day and you're an expert, this might be their first time interacting with it. They have no idea how it works. They have no idea the language we use if it's their first time. Everything needs to be related to that simple, straightforward, clear language that you can just be able to navigate those conversations with, because people, they don't know. So we need to take our level, bring it down to theirs,
Mhm.
and go from there.
Yes, exactly. And the customer feels it, because it could be that, they know the answer, but they didn't know the term that this was in order to get them to where they needed to be. And with support, it's so easy to forget what it takes for someone to actually ask for help. Like, truly, I know that I go through any and everything I can to avoid sending an email for help or even a chat for help, because who knows what's going to happen. And I want to figure this out. I'm in it. I have the time right now to do this. So let me just do this. So if you've got folks that are sending you emails or sending you chats or any way that they contact you, they are stopping their day to reach out for help. And if you do not approach that in a way that appreciates that ask, you have just ruined an awesome opportunity to connect with someone. And I agree so much with what you were saying about bringing it down, because you can't make any assumptions about someone's headspace. And that's how you have to start the conversation. You have to just start it with kindness, start it with what you think is going on and explain why you think it, and then open the door for them to provide you with anything additional. And if that takes 6 back and forths, cool. I mean, it got resolved. That's fine.
Yeah, I'd rather have it in 6 different small, concise, clear messages than one giant, overwhelming, long message. I love what you mentioned about that when the customer is like taking the time out of their day to reach out to you for help, that's an ask from us. We're asking them to reach out in that sense. Like, it's something that they need to do. One of the things that I always have an issue with, personal vendetta, is when people or companies make it very difficult to reach support in the first place. Like, I'm reaching out for help. I get that you want to deflect, you want to triage things through the systems, you want to make it, structured, scalable, standard for everything. But if it's too difficult for your customers to get the help that they need, like, what are we doing in the first place?
Yeah, and I don't know if it rings the bell for you like it does for me, but when I find myself in those situations, the first thing I think of is, am I getting scammed right now? Like, red flag of, is this even like a legit thing that I am participating in? Because why are you making it this hard? It should not be this hard. I know you have a team. Everybody has a team. Just connect me to the team. That's all I need.
just do it. I saw this one. It's not that they made it hard, it's just that they made it messy. Like, I was going through and I was like, okay, I need to, it's actually the same stroller experience. I clicked on their contact form. I was like, okay, I'll take care of this. I'm a support person. I'll talk to the support people.
Yep.
We'll get it worked out. I know what's going on. I go to their contact form. It says select reason, and then it has the drop down reasons, and one of them is fill reason here, like, just as part of the drop down, that it was like the placeholder text for the drop down.
Oh my
It's
God.
just funny experiences like that where you're like, I can see the level of attention to detail that I'm going to get from this support experience, so
Yeah.
I might as well just package my answer differently.
Right? There's so many, and maybe it's because we're in the support world that we're so like laser focused eyes on all these little indicators, but maybe not. And the the obviousness of carelessness that exists in this world, especially around support situations, but in so many other situations too. It's just, it tells you more in that split second about the company than any Instagram ad, any, rebate system, whatever it is that they throw out into the world, that little thing tells me everything.
I love that you say, like, because we're support people, maybe we're more attuned to it, we pay more attention. I find it so hard to turn my support person brain off whenever, because we're customers every single day.
Every day.
Like, we're also customers,
Yep.
going through it. But then I can never seem to, like, not think about, oh, what system are they using? I'm gonna click on their help center and see what tool it is. Like, I'm interested in that. Like, why not? Let's check it out. What contact form? How are they doing it? Like, I can't turn it off for some reason, ever.
No. And I mean, yes, I'm the same exact way. And I think it's because it's around us all the time. It's not like with other professions where it's not in your face in everything that you do. There's opportunities for growth, and there's so many products out there to help, and there's so many people that are doing a great job, and then there's other folks that are struggling, and sometimes I so badly want to just like send them a message of, you can do better. I know that you can. Or do you want to hop on a call and talk this through, because something's happened and they probably didn't need to happen. But it's being a professional support person and knowing what it takes to do things well, and knowing how easy it is to be a victim of poor support, is something we're just in all the time.
When I was starting out in support, I was taking like the very intro, like very generic, like online course of, here's customer service, this kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
Like very, very, very early on, it was recommended to me, and I was just like, okay, sure, they have it on a discount, $5. Let's check it out.
Yeah, awesome.
Why not? I never finished it because it was very rudimentary in that sense.
Mhm.
But I went through it, and one of the first things they said was, the level of customer service and the ability to do really well is very easy because the bar is set so low.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
It did. It said that the service standard across the board is set so low that it's so easy to go above and beyond to delight customers, and this is what you can do. Hence the reason I stopped the course, right?
Wow. I mean, I don't totally disagree, but that's not how you want to start someone's support like journey of, you really don't have to do anything to impress people because everyone disappoints everyone all the time.
It's like the hot take right here. Let's go.
I know. Damn. Like, sorry, I don't know if I was allowed to swear, but
no, you're good. You're good.
Okay. No, I mean, I think I was too quick to say I don't totally disagree. I think that there's been a huge change lately. And it's, it's going to ebb and flow, and it's going to be great sometimes, and it's not going to be great. But the tech world has created so many products that are pretty much the same. And there's tiny differentiators. There's differences in price. There's differences in all sorts of things. But there's one thing in every single product that is the exact same at the very beginning. And that is how you're going to treat your customer. And that's support. Because every single company has to have support to some degree, whether you make it easy or not to access it. That's up to you. But you have such a cool opportunity to make someone's day better, and in doing so enforce like why they picked you, and get them to share that with other people when they're telling somebody about how terrible their experience with XYZ was. Well, you know what? I would never have experience like that at this company, because every time I talk to them, they make sure that they get the job done with me. I walk away. I have to ask support sometimes, yeah, because that's life. But it's not bad. It's not painful, and that's our job, and it's such a cool job, and I mean, I feel pretty lucky.
I think one of the things is as well, like it becomes such a differentiator for most companies that support will be why I stay with a particular company or not. Like if I need a VPN service, I'm going to go directly to the one that I was using before, even though I canceled them like a while ago, specifically because I still remember the service experience that I got 3-4 years ago.
Yep.
And I loved their, like the way that they did it. It was great. That's the reason I would go back. Wouldn't even think about looking for competitors in that sense.
It's
I
true.
think one of the other things too is you do have a chance when somebody is having a problem to make more loyal customers
Right.
through that support experience and what you give.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in wireless, in retail, I was a third-party vendor inside of Costco's. And so I wasn't directly Costco, but I worked inside and we had a very good relationship. And whenever there was one time very specifically, I was the manager running the kiosk and I was helping people, customers. And one of the customers went to the Costco manager to complain about something that had happened. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it happens. People
Yeah.
have a bad experience. We'll work through it. And they said something that still stuck with me that I've always remember. It takes about 100 good experiences to make up for that bad experience. Like, I know you guys are doing a good job, but if this one customer, this one Costco member comes up to me and they complain, that's what I'm going to remember and that's what I'm going to deal with. I don't come talk to you all the time, but when somebody complains, I'm going to come talk to you. All the good ones, oh, I don't come talk to you because they're all good. They're all great. But you have to make up for that experience,
Yes, you
and
do.
every experience counts.
It so counts and it carries. And that opens the door to a whole other topic of the invisible work of support and how doing it well is such an easy thing for companies to just overlook. But then the second there is somebody that had a bad day and it turned into a bad experience with a support person, whether it was the support person's fault or not, it doesn't matter. But that is when they start paying attention to support. And that is when they start digging around to see if this is something that happens all the time. And all of those wins that you probably even brought up just fell on deaf ears. And this one person just messed it all up.
Well, I was in a conversation with a leader and he was like, I was like, well, what does success look like for you in terms of support? When are we doing good? When are we like, what for you? What's the
Yeah.
expectation? He's like, if I'm not hearing anything, it's going well because nothing has to come to me. But if something is not going right, then it's not going well. So if I don't hear anything, we're good. I was like, okay, like no
Mhm.
news is good
No
news,
news
I
is good
guess.
news. Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
weird conundrum of support, like because we're doing very, very, very well, and if there are no huge crazy fires, great, wonderful, it's going well. But I think, yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
I'll book another slot. We can talk about that.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
3-hour
yeah.
slot for that one. That one's a big one. But no, it's true. It's true that those just and you were talking earlier about metrics, which could turn into a whole other thing. We should probably just do a series.
That's a series, yeah.
Yeah. But with the metrics, I feel the exact same way. And I just turned on the CSAT thing at the beginning of this year. First time I've ever done it, and it more out of curiosity, to be honest. But I approached it with the team of just constantly reminding them, because I've been telling them for years why I hate it so much. And it is such a crappy identifier of things because mean people, angry people, hurt people, frustrated people, people that are just having a bad day, stressed people, those are the loudest people. And they're always going to be the loudest in support or in any other situation. And that's going to be the noise that we're going to get. And that means that says nothing about any person's ability or the job that they did with that person. And then there's going to be those really great ones where we're super pumped and we didn't realize it was such a great experience. And that's one of the main reasons why I decided to turn it on, so that we could acknowledge those kind of hidden gems of you just help somebody reset their password, but it was a really smooth and easy transition for them, and they were really thankful for it, and they took the time to write a review for that. But it's just, I look at the metrics, I put no weight in them whatsoever, unless there's something that flags it, obviously. But then that's just more of a conversation to have with the person that had the initial conversation with the customer. But too many companies are just putting so much emphasis on something that's so far out of the control of the agents, and it's just a bummer. It's just a bummer that is the benchmark for everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Whenever I get a negative one, I'm always asking, is it people? Is it process? Or is it just the situation?
Mm.
Because if it's people, then yeah, we're going to have a conversation of how you handled it, how it went,
Right.
things like that. If it's the process, like, of course, somebody's going to give a negative rating around a process that's super clunky and shouldn't be that way, and we need to make it
Right.
more efficient. That's not on them.
Yeah.
If it's the situation, yeah, maybe they send 10 tickets for the same request in 5 minutes, and that we can't do anything about that. Like, of course, we want to be able to help. I think that goes to making sure that you're looking at things in context and
Yeah.
not in isolation, and really keeping in mind that what's an indicator, what's a metric and a benchmark that you want to use, creating some conceptualized ideas around that.
Yeah. Yeah. And with like, have it just be a piece of it, because I'm a data junkie, and I look at every single ticket, and I read every single ticket, and I do QA, because there's always areas for improvement, but there's also wins that I want to celebrate. And I want to make sure that all of those things don't go unnoticed. And I put out a newsletter every month so that I can showcase that. But then I also talk about the trends, and I talk about, oh, hey, I noticed, a handful of you were doing this, and let's maybe try and refocus this here. So it's not like a nagging, I'm coming at you sort of approach, more of a learning opportunity. But adding in those sorts of interactions with the customer, I've already probably read it. When I'm looking at the CSAT numbers, I know the situation. If it's a process situation, then sure, I'm going to flag that as, let's keep it. Does this connect to a trend that I'm already paying attention to? Are there other folks that maybe brought this up that I didn't really realize it was such an issue? Or is this somebody that was just told that we are not going to refund 7 years of subscription fees that you forgot that you had, because that is not life? And sorry. Or yeah, we took 6 hours to reply to you because you wrote in the middle of the night, and 6 hours is still pretty darn good to resolve an issue. And I can't be upset with anybody about that one, but it's just,
This happens.
yeah, it is what it is. But it's all part of the journey. And as long as you're paying attention to the data, getting the context, like you said, it's just an extra little bit, but has no real weight on the performance of the people that are on your team, because you know that the people that you hired are doing a great job, because that's why I hired them.
Also, very true. I love that you say it's all part of the journey, because it's kind of where we started this as well. Like, how'd
Yes.
you get into
Yeah.
support? What was your journey been like? I have a question.
Yeah.
Generally, how I always end these conversations, leave with a little nugget of knowledge.
Bring it.
Is there any particular thing that you learned across your journey in support, or it doesn't need to be support, but anything along your professional career that you've learned that you still hold to and stick to today?
Yeah. Um, that treating people the way that you want to be treated is the best approach for every situation that you're in. I think that's why I have been so successful in customer support, because that also means finding more efficient ways to do things. That means creating better documentation, but that also just means you're talking to a person. The people on your team are people. The people that you're working with, even if it's an international remote company, those are people. And they're just doing their job. And the people that you're talking to are just trying to do their job. And your place in this sphere of life, or whatever company, is, I'm great with words, but it's just to help and do it with kindness, so that they walk away feeling good. And it takes so little effort to be kind. It takes so little effort to say to the people on your team, wow, you guys are knocking this out of the park. Or you tackled way more tickets than I anticipated you would today, and you did it so gracefully, and you just did everything and more, and do it on a regular basis. Why does kindness have to be something that you hold in a vault and release when someone has quote unquote earned it? It's such a waste of time to be negative and to be mean to people. So yeah, that's kind of my North Star of everything is how would I want to be treated? It's how I parent too. I talk about it with my 4-year-old all the time. If this was happening to you, how would this make you feel? And it turns into really cool conversations with a toddler, but also when I do it with my team or anybody really, because they're people.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's just always people talking to people and being together. Like we're all going through life at the same time and going through different experiences. So it can also just look at it from that lens. Like it doesn't need to be some barriers here, there, and everywhere.
No.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and going on this little support rant with me.
Anytime, Neil. I have loved this.
Perfect. I love it too. For the people who are going to watch this or listen to it or go about their day, how can they connect with you and find what you're doing? I noticed you also started the Kindness Initiative as well. Maybe how can people connect with you and what can they find?
Yeah, a great way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. You can look for Sarah Caminiti. I'm with DNSimple. You can reach out to support at DNSimple. There is a good chance I may even respond, especially if you address me personally. They'll just they'll triage it right over to me. But with the Kindness Initiative, if you're curious, if there's a way that you can be that leader that you always wanted to be, or if you want to know how to look at situations differently than how you have in the past, or you just want somebody to talk these things out with, I'm here. I'm happy to do it. I love learning from others and helping others. And as I've said probably a million times on this podcast, what do you really like, Sarah? But no, betterwaytolead.com. More's to come. I'm after talking with Neil, I'm pushed to really start driving this stuff to get it out into the universe and to stop procrastinating. But yeah, I'm excited about it. And I think that it could be the start of something pretty cool for others if they're open to it. So thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for wanting to have the conversation and joining me today.
Yes.
And with that, I would say have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend as well.
You too. And I'll talk to you very soon.
All right, we'll see you then.
Goodbye. Thank you.